Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I hope you're having an incredible day in Jesus. We're going to go over some apostolic history resources, and this is from the Apostolic History Outline by Marvin Arnold. Great book, tremendous book. Still get it, and just Google search it, it'll come up, should. And so I'm going to go over his bibliography, and I've got some comments I'm going to make. I also have some extra things written down. So let's get started. Thanks for being here. Do check out our other videos, subscribe, hit the bell notification. So the first one is C. Adler, The Trial of Gabriel de Granada by the Inquisition in Mexico, 1899. I have to admit, I had never heard of that book to my knowledge. If I'd heard about it years ago and I'd forgotten it. So that's good. You know, Mortimer Adler, yes, but not C. Adler. And then E.N. Adler, The Auto da Fe, The Act of Faith and Jew, 1908. It's E.N. Adler. And so, yeah, studying auto da Fe's, the burning, the public burning. That's why they came up, I've heard, with the bullfighting, is because people were used to the auto da Fe's and they outlawed those. They're like, we still must have blood, you know. So, and don't think you're on your high horse with the MMA, UFC, and boxing. Okay, and then Edward D. Andrews, The People Called Shakers. This is from Cover, New York, 1965. It's called the Shakers. Fascinating group. Study them. Big concentration in Kentucky at one time. Some Pentecostal, some ultra weird, some in between. Anyhow. And then he's got his own book here, Marvin M. Arnold, History of the Christian Church, Apostolic Publishing House, Memphis, Tennessee, 1979. I've probably got a review of that online somewhere floating around. And then A.S. Atiyah, The History of Eastern Christianity, put out by Notre Dame, Indiana, 1967. Obviously, they have been at loggerheads for a millennium, Eastern and Western Christianity. But studying Eastern Christianity is fascinating because we tend to talk about Western civilization and things. But you have to remember, till 1453 with Byzantium, maybe in many cases the East was the, I don't know what you would call it, but anyhow, the equals in many ways to the West, may be superior in some ways. Many people still think, I mean, you got a lot of people converting to Eastern Orthodoxy. Then Roland Bainton, he's one of my favorite historians, Bainton, B-A-I-N-T-O-N, The Horizon History of Christianity, Avon, New York, 1966. And then this next, as I consider this just a basic handbook if you want to study baptism in the New Testament. It's 5 volumes. It used to be G.R. Beasley Murray, Baptism by Erdmans, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 1977. And he's pretty favorable to the apostolic cause. Some would say very favorable, at least in parts, you know. And then the next is a German publication that I'm not even going to try to give, but it's from 1883 in Vienna. And then P. Bernstein and Robert Greene, The History of Civilization, Volume 1 to 1648, Littlefield Adams Publishing, New Jersey, 1971. And so all these are going to have, you know, something to do with the subject at hand. And this is just a great book showing Christianity basically century by century, many cases decades by decade, from the apostolic times till now. And then another kind of basic handbook you're going to want if you're going to study this subject is John H. Blunt, Sects, Heresies, Ecclesiastical Parties and Schools of Religious Thought, Gale Research, Book Tower, Detroit, Michigan, 1974. Next is a book that everybody recommended to me, and I didn't get much out of it. Maybe if I reread it, that's happened to me before. Lorraine Boatner, Roman Catholicism, put out by Baker, 1982. It may be Protestant and Reformed now. And then Bullinger, I think that's the ancient reformer Bullinger's work. Again, it's Folio 15 Verso. I'm thinking that is a German publication, since it's Der Wiedertaufen, Earthspring. Okay, and then Richard Calder, After the Seventh Day, Mentor, New York, 1965. I'm not acquainted with that at all. And then Michael Chelik, Cheilik, Ancient History, Barnes & Noble, New York, 1970. Now, I don't have the wherewithal, unfortunately. We just don't have the staff to like put all this in the description. I wish we did. Maybe YouTube will do us a solid, not only do a transcript like they do on some of our videos, but do it, piece by piece. Next is Jack T. Chick, Macho. Chick Publications, Chino, California, 1982. People would have varying views on the historical accuracy of Jack Chick. Got some reviews of his stuff here on the channel. Then Gordon G. Colton, Inquisition and Liberty, London, 1938. That sounds good. I'm not acquainted with that. Now, the next two are what I consider kind of somewhat basics in the study of church history. And it's H. Daniel-Raps, R-A-P-S. H. Daniel Raps, The Church in the Dark Ages, Dutton, New York, 1960. Daniel, and that's got Daniel Rops. I'm sure it's just a misspelling. And I think it may actually be Rops. The Church of Apostles and Martyrs, Dutton, New York, 1950. So that's probably going to be one that's going to be helpful to us as we study. So Margaret Dinsley, D-E-A-N-S-E-L-E-Y, The Pre-Conquest Church in England, Oxford University, 1961. Pre-Conquest, that sounds pretty cool. Church in England, that's a definite, I've done quite a bit of study, Cooper and others, of what did Christianity look like in the 300s, 200s, first century in England. Not as much as maybe I should, actually. And then Heinrich Detmer, like Ty Detmer, and then Robert Krumholtz. And it is another German publication from 1904. And I've got Der Paradox Ihn by Hübner, which is again a German publication put out by Brill, 1998, which shows that modalistic monarchianism, which was once called heretical, was actually the belief of the early church. So that's good. And then John Dillenberger, Martin Luther, Anchor, Doubleday, 1961, because Martin Luther advocated strongly that in the Babylonian captivity of the church, Jesus' name baptism was the original form of baptism. And he's got a reference in here from 1525 that some apostolics actually talked to Martin Luther. I've since found out from another source that Martin Luther almost went with Michael Servetus. But anyhow, and then Max L. Daimat, Jews, God, and History, Simon Schuster, New York, 1962. Tom Dowley, The Erdman's Handbook to History. Boy, the Erdman's family there in Grand Rapids, one of the big, Pat Zondervan, the Erdmans, the Kriegels, and the Bakers, the old Dutch Reformed thing. They formed quite the thing there in Grand Rapids. And then William Du Bois, The Epics of Church History, Volume 3, Christian Literature, New York, 1896. I wondered, too, if that one wasn't like Christian Literature Crusade, which they have a lot of good books. They're a really underutilized publisher, if they're even still in existence. And then we have L. Duchesne. That was William Du Bois, The Epics of Church History, Volume 3. This one is Early History of the Christian Church, L. Duchesne, Longmans, Green and Company, 1912. That sounds good. We'll do one more for this one, and it's N.C. Eberhardt. You can see it's going in alphabetical order. A Summary of Catholic Church History by Herder, H-E-R-D-E-R, St. Louis, 1961. So some good resources, and Arnold, he was doing his work before the internet. Unbelievable. God bless. Talk with you later. Bye-bye.